Hi, my name is Devina St. Clair with Earth Goddess Rising, and today we are going to be talking about my favorite subject, and that is magic, with Justice Bartlett, and she is with Playfully Conscious. That is her business. It is playfullyconscious.com. And would you tell us, how did you come up with the name Playfully Conscious?
Well, I've been in business for myself for about 14 years, and I've had several different businesses that have gone through different incarnations, as they tend to do. And what's really come about is the need for play in our lives. And as children, we're inherently playful. It's how we move about the world. It's how we learn and grow. And I think that gets conditioned out of us as we get to be adults. So Playfully Conscious is about returning to that inherent natural state of curiosity and engagement, aliveness, and being curious about our inner and our outer worlds in order to heal and gain the leverage that we need to be powerful movers in our reality.
Oh, I like it. I like to play. So before we talk more about magic, let's
Sync up.
sync our wands. Yeah.
Wander twin powers activate.
Yes. So could you tell us about how you view magic and what do you see magic as? Like, what does that mean to you?
Magic is our ability to tap into the energy and the resources that are within and around us in any given moment. It is both esoteric and extremely grounded and practical.
So what would your advice be how would you bring magic into your everyday experience?
I think when we think of magic, we tend to think of Harry Potter, right? And these amazing $1 million scenes and sets, and that's not the kind of magic that we're going to have access to as people. So I think ritual is a really simple, basic way to activate the magic potential in our everyday life. And ritual is very simply getting intentional with our energy and our activities. And it's not something that we spend a lot of time doing. You know, we get very caught up in our daily routines and our agendas, taking the kids to school and going to work and all of that. And to me, the practical use of magic is knowing that at any point in the day, in my busy life, I can pause, I can stop, I can connect with breath, with heart, I can bring myself into this moment, and then that starts to be magical from there. So then whatever I'm engaging with from that state becomes a magical act. It becomes infused with energy and intention rather than just being some rote thing that, has to be done every day.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I know that you're doing classes now and your workshops, and do you bring in, what do you bring into your everyday magic class, for instance? Like, what would you want to highlight for people?
For everyday magic, I think to start with the basics, you need to understand that you are magic more than you just do magic. If doing magic is something that you have to learn, you have to acquire the skills, you have to create time out of your busy schedule, there's a lot of maybes, ifs, and maybe I will and maybe I won't. But if you understand that you are magic, then everything that you do can become a magical act. So I would start really simply with reminding people that they themselves are the heart of magic. And everybody has a little bit different way of accessing that for themselves. And creativity is our most basic form of magic, right? So everybody's creative in a different way. Everybody notices things a little bit differently. Everybody has different unique skills and abilities and perceptions. And those are all keys to accessing a more magical life.
And so is that how you bring in the playful awareness, is just showing people that everything can be magic with your intention, or with through how you are as a being, I guess? Is that what
being magic instead of doing magic for you?
I like how that sounds.
Yeah, you acknowledge that, like, okay, I am a magical being, and so therefore it naturally follows that what I do would be magical. Anything from cooking breakfast to my kids to getting them into the car. It's really a level of where am I engaging from, rather than what special tools or skills do I need to create a magical existence. Your existence is already magical. You are already like a living, breathing miracle. People don't know this, but I think this is one of the most fundamental things to help people understand their nature. When you go through that initial cellular division, when that sperm and that ovum meet, when that reaction happens, they have measured under a microscope, there is an actual spark. So the idea of like a divine spark, it's not an esoteric concept. It's literally where you come from. You are this spark of magic from your announcement into this world. And then that grows into your heartbeat and your nervous system and everything that you are working with on a daily basis. And so your materials are inherent to you. They're raw. They're part of your physical body. They're part of your makeup. And we forget that we're magical because it gets conditioned out of us. Usually someone comes along and tells us, that's not real or that's not important. So many of us when we're younger have the innate abilities to feel and sense energy, to see spirits and into other realms, have these incredible intuitive gifts and these really powerful active imaginal worlds. And somebody usually comes along and says that that's not real. And that is the beginning of us suppressing our magic.
So do you think that there's, or I guess I should say, what would prevent somebody from, what's the main reason why people don't access their magic?
This is a heavy topic, but I think it's really important to talk about. In a word, trauma. And I would group in with trauma, shame. And it's such a hard thing to talk about in our society, because we start talking about experiences where we've had shame, and we start going into shame. And the shame and trauma, the physiological responses in your body are the same. So for somebody who doesn't understand that they could have potentially encountered trauma, who hasn't been in a war zone or who hasn't, witnessed a terrible event, you need to understand that to your body and to your mind and the way that you develop and cognate and process and function, shame and trauma are the same thing. And absolutely every single one of us has experienced shame. So it is the absolute antithesis of being magical, because shame says to you, there's something wrong with you. There's something inherently flawed and dysfunctional about you. It's not something that you've done, right? It's who you are. So if we're talking about the fundamentals of magic being, I am magical, then shame says the exact opposite to that. Shame says I'm flawed and I'm dysfunctional and I need to be fixed or saved. And so rather than looking to that inherent core fire divine spark within ourselves, we wind up looking outside of ourselves. We wind up looking to other people or authoritarian figures, martyrs, messiahs, that whole construct. And by nature, it suppresses our magic.
So as a healer, that's where you come in and you help people access these things inside of them, which could be trauma, and help them get in touch with that to get rid of the trauma, I guess. So
through it. And I really think, as far as healing goes, all healing is self-healing. Your body heals itself if given the right information, resources, nutrition, energy, awareness. You'll take that and you'll run with that naturally, because your natural state is inherently magical and healthy and vital and vibrant. So to think about it in terms of like hypnosis, which is the other thing that I do, right? Illness, trauma, dysfunction, depression, anxiety, all of these states that are kind of epidemic in our society are trance states, because your true natural state is one of active, alive, engaged magic.
So it's a distortion is what you're saying, the way that people operate outside of not really fully knowing what's really going inside of them, going on, how they're feeling. And I know you mentioned that working with emotions is really important for you. How do you see that as like a block, maybe emotional blocks, or would that be a block if in someone fully realizing their potential? Do you think that there's a problem?
Yeah. I like to call it emotional alchemy, which is essentially you start with whatever you have. There's a lot of advice out there, particularly in the New Age community, that says that you should be able to choose your emotional state and that you need to follow this emotional hierarchy. And if you're not doing that, then somehow you're failing to be like a positive creator with your energy. And I think it's the exact opposite. I think the real magic lies in being honest in how we're feeling, even if it's really unpleasant, because emotions are temporary, and they're also these wonderful signposts of whether or not we are in a congruent state. So to say like, I want to feel happier, so I'm just going to choose to feel joy and not acknowledge that I have this deep grief inside of me, it's going to create this state of disparity between how you're thinking and how you're feeling, and that's going to widen the gap between how you can actually move and act through your world. So to be honest, like I want to feel joyful, right? And I have this deep state of grief that I'm dealing with inside of me, and I'm going to choose to be present and honor that. That is, to me, that's a magical act, because you're creating a container around what is, and you're holding that intentionally and lovingly. And when we do that, that's when those emotions transform. I think joy is actually the state of all of our emotions being given permission to flow freely as they need to in response to our internal and external cues.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, I know that the society that we live in, that men have been told not to cry and all of that, to show their emotions, and so that's got to be really hard for people to move through that if they think it's a weakness to express them. So it's got to be a hard one for that. But I also wanted to, I know you had talked to me, we had talked about, you were talking about Hearth Magic and how there's just simple ways just to being at home and making your home magical. Is there anything like any rituals or anything that you would like to share or let us know what you do?
Sure. So Hearth Magic, hearth from heart, it's bringing heart into the heart of your home, and it's acknowledging that your space is an extension of your magical intention. And it's easy to do with a home environment. It's something you can do with playing with the way that you dress and present yourself to the world. But really simple, practical things for ritual hearth magic is actually stuff like cleaning. Stuff
Cleaning, that's it.
Right? Stuff that we don't want to do. But that when we show up with presence and aliveness, curiosity, and intention, we can change the context of how we experience that. So one of my favorite rituals is is the bathroom. The bathroom is my favorite place to practice hearth magic, the cleaning magic. because, most of us, we have these light colored tubs, and you can see when it builds up that scum. And you can feel, as you become more alive and attentive to your body, you can feel when your body's kind of building up scum, whether it's physical toxicity or emotional toxicity, right? So I like to kind of notice and take count of what's going on in my life. It's like, okay, I'm feeling irritated with this person. I'm feeling upset or distraught with myself or with my job or with how, the dynamic's going down with my kid. And I'll sort of gather all of that intentionally and put that in that dirty tub and then scrub the tub.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
I like that.
And you create this inner to outer activity of like playing with cleaning up all of these elements in your consciousness as you're cleaning out your bathtub.
Oh, I like it.
And then when you get done, you can see, the ring, the scum's all gone. You will feel physically better by taking physical action on your own behalf. And then the beautiful thing is, and this is like major important hearth magic for me, and I know you mentioned too being like doing your rituals in your bathtub a lot. And then you can create this wonderful nurturing ritual out of putting yourself into your nice clean bathtub and soaking in that element with whatever you like. Minerals, stones, salt water is obviously a really wonderful one. I think the saltwater bath is probably one of the easiest self-care magical rituals that we can perform for ourselves. And if you don't have a bathtub, then you do it in the shower. You work with what you've got.
Yeah. Well, that is really good. Make sure you take a bath. Make it magical. Yeah, that sounds nice. I think I'll have to do that later. So, is there anything else that you really feel strongly about with what you're teaching people when you bring them into your magical container? Is there certain things that I know it's play, it's all about play. So, do you want to share a little more on that, or?
So we talk about the two S's, the two S words that keep us out of our magical state. In every class I teach, whether it's play wholehearted with life, love, luck, and synchronicity, everyday magic, getting to the state where we can acknowledge ourselves as magical beings and do magic in the world is about overcoming shame and should. So shame says there's something inherently wrong with you. Should says that you're not doing it the way that you're supposed to be doing it, or that you need to be doing something. It's more about adapting and fitting in than really owning and claiming your own belonging, which is inherently magical. So I think a really simple place to start is to start asking yourself, where am I shoulding on myself? Because we do it all the time. And it takes the magic out, and it takes the intention and the activity out of it, and makes it be about this artificial construct. So to really get to a magical state, we really need to be consciously devoted to dismantling these artificial constructs in the way and in the time that's appropriate for us, because it doesn't happen all at once. It happens incrementally. And you hit these wonderful waves and pockets where you feel this expansion and this growth, and then you go into another cycle where you contract and you sort of figure things out again, and then you come out of that. So the other thing is to be patient with yourself and to acknowledge the natural spirals of transformation, and that it's okay to revisit things. It's okay if you find yourself in this situation where you thought you had cleared it. You're still doing your work, and the work is still working on you, right? It's just we keep being given these opportunities to engage in different times, in different places, with different attention, energy, and resources. And that's all part of the magic, right?
Oh yeah, that sounds definitely a spiral going back. You think you've fixed something, and there's another layer. So definitely see that. So Justice's website is playfullyconscious.com, And I have another question for you. I want to know, how does play and magic tie in? How do you tie those in?
This just gives me a big smile to even think about it. I think they're natural companions to each other. I think sometimes with the practice of magic, it can take on kind of a serious tone, right? Like there's more, like it's got a lot of ancient tradition to it when you think about magic. So when I'm talking about everyday magic, it's more about ways that we can play with our energy, our vitality, our inner and outer resources. And I think that naturally becomes magical. When I think about play and when I think about it being a natural state of childhood and how it becomes sort of a luxury and something frivolous for adults, to me, like things go from being in Technicolor to being like in sepia tones and then into like black and white. Like the juice just gets slowly or very quickly drained out of life. And, the energy and the curiosity, the vitality, the engagement, the love and the warmth, so much of that gets lost to the shoulds and to the agendas. And so instead of recognizing that play is vital for our well-being, it gets shoved to the back burner and it becomes something that maybe we do on our days off, that maybe we take a vacation to play, and it's not something that we engage in consistently. And that in and of itself, I think, sort of drains the magic out of life. And that's why I feel like they really go hand in hand, like they're the best companions.
So it's a lot of inner child work. Is that also what will help people get in touch with their
Absolutely
magic, you think?
And to think about like inner child work, oh man, here we go, inner child work. Gestalt therapy, working with different parts. If you want to begin a practice of engaging with your inner child, the simplest thing that you can do right now in this moment is change your tone. Change the tone that you use to dialogue with yourself. If you catch yourself, that harsh, critical voice, how would you speak to a child? How would you speak to a beloved pet? I guarantee you talk to pretty much everything else in your life better than you talk to yourself. So healing that relationship with your inner child really begins with changing the tone of your inner conversation with yourself to be gentle, inclusive, loving, and curious. And if you start doing that right now, I guarantee it will change your life.
Well, I think I want to go play with my child, my inner child, and take a bubble bath later.
Right. Well, and ask her what she wants to do, right? Like that's another one of my favorite things is, what do you want to do? What do you want to eat? How can I meet your needs today, right? Mm-hmm. Really simple stuff. But you engage with that intention and that simple stuff becomes powerful magic.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I'm really excited to see all that you're going to be doing with this magic. And I know you're traveling and you've been traveling across the States and teaching people and bringing people together for transformational experiences. So that's kind of exciting. And I'm just so glad that you could talk a little bit about magic with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Everyday magic. That's what's important every day. Thank you.
A little bit of magic every day makes all the difference, right?
Yeah. I can feel it. I want to get busy creating magic.
Well, thank you for having me on. I enjoyed our collaborative magic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time.